Hello, I'm Lee Matthews and welcome to North Melbourne's 1996 season review. For North it was the ultimate year, a grand final win in the last day of September. For the next 2 hours we're going to have a look at their whole year from February pre-season to the grand final at the end of September. And joining me to put North under the microscope is Rowan Connolly and Andrew Marr. A bit different being in this side of the studio. I was used to being over there in your spot.
It's a vastly different chair with vastly different responsibilities.
So I've got to keep you two in line. It's back to the coaching job. This is the way I'm looking at it.
I'm already shaking in my boots.
We'll be suitably respectful.
Well done, Rowan. So what did you think, Rowan and Andrew, of North's year, just in summary?
Oh, it's a bit of a fairy tale, really, wasn't it? But I mean, I guess it was one that's been a long time coming. I mean, they've really built up to it for 4 years. So I think in that sense it was seen as, a thoroughly deserved premiership, one that they'd really earned. I'm
happy to say I was picking them from February, and I think
we remember that on Football Feedback, Lee. You were sort of vociferous in your support of them pretty early, weren't you?
I was pretty keen as well. Yeah, absolutely. And to give the inside look, of course, we've got a couple of the North Melbourne players, John Longmire and Brett Allison, so welcome fellas. Mixed emotions for you, John, on grand final day, I'm sure.
I suppose it was. I mean, it was terrific to see the players, celebrate the way they did after the game, and it was obviously disappointing that I wasn't part of it, but I'll get my chance again, I hope, and I mean, that's just the way it goes.
Yeah, and Brett, after that hiccup at the start for you, that knee injury in round 5, missed 10 weeks, and then it was a bit of a fairy tale for you personally in the latter stage of the year.
Yeah, look, I couldn't have been happier to, when I did my knee, I thought, how long is this going to keep me out for? And the team was playing well and winning without me, and then to be able to get back in towards the end of the season, and it was great. It
was great. Well, let's start from the beginning. Back in February, the pre-season period, way back then.
Have a look at that.
Is that the Lightning Premiership we're seeing now, I wonder?
It's February, apparently.
Thunder and Lightning Premiership.
There's definitely the two goal umpires. It's definitely the Lightning Premiership.
Gee, that was a terrible way to start the season, wasn't it? Well, how did you go in the Lightning Premiership? What was the final wash-up there?
I think we went all right. We won a couple of games. I think that we mainly had the younger players playing, and a lot of the older players didn't play. And this is our Ansett Cup, our first Ansett Cup game up in Canberra against the Swans, which we won.
And who knocked you out of the Ansett Cup in the end? Was it Carlton? Carlton knocked you over in the semi-final, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah. And pretty conclusively too, if I remember. It was a reasonable margin at the end of that night.
It's one of the 2 pre-season games Carlton's ever won, I think.
They've got an outstanding pre-season record, haven't they? No, I don't think so.
But that the Lightning Premiership highlights we looked at, I think, did you blokes got up over Melbourne with the first score of extra time, or was it the...
Yes, that's right.
So did you all understand the rules? I know there's a lot of confusion about all the rule experimentation.
Well, I was standing in the race, so I didn't know much about what was going on.
I actually kicked the point, and the trainers had come out and said next score wins, so I knew if the ball come my direction, I was just going to be having a pot shot wherever it was.
Yeah, basically.
And I think one of the interesting things about any pre-season is the new players, and North started off with 3 new players on their list. Eric Lissenden, who were ex-under-19s players a few years ago.
Well, he'd been drafted once by North, then once by Essendon, and this was his 3rd time he'd been drafted at League Footy, I think. And he came down with a fair degree of size on his side. He's a strapping lad.
Yeah, he was a terrific player in the under-19s under Dennis, and Dennis was a real big rap for him. And he hadn't played football for about 2 years, I think. He fractured his skull in the country and missed footy for about 2 years. And to come into an AFL club and to start off like he didn't actually to play a senior game this year was a pretty good effort.
It seems to be happening more and more that day, doesn't it? Guys are being drafted not from your traditional sort of footy backgrounds, and as you said, he'd slipped out of it for a while. He was living in the bush. I mean, we've seen kids drafted last week from basketball backgrounds, athletics backgrounds. I mean, it seems to be the way it's going, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. It's just very hard to pick it up in that first 12 months, to pick any sort of tempo of football up, let alone AFL tempo, but he seems to have done it quite well.
And he played a couple of games early, but then fell out of the team, as it were. And Brad Payne, the Collingwood recruit, was in a similar basis, played a couple of games early.
Well, you'd probably be in a good position to speak on this one, Lee. I mean, he was always going to be a big gamble, wasn't he?
Well, he was always going to be a gamble. I wonder, Brett, did you think your spot might have been one of those that he would have been filling?
I was certainly one who wasn't a big rap when I heard he was drafted to North Melbourne, but I suppose he's had a lot of bad luck over his years in the game, and he seems to regularly break down, and he had a lot of problems again this year.
And eventually left off the list at the end of the year, so he's had one year with North and gone. And of course Peter Bell came across from Fremantle. Well, he was a real success story, wasn't he?
He was, and he was another that I wasn't too happy about when I heard he was going. But
when these sorts of guys come over who have been discarded by other clubs, in Brad Plain's case more than one, do they bring with them sort of preconceived ideas amongst the existing player group at North? Like, had you made up your minds already whether or not the guys were any good and thought maybe they were just making up numbers?
I thought he was not a bad player. Of what I saw him at Fremantle, he seemed to always. I think he only played, or I saw him play in the pre-season games for Fremantle, and he kicked goals.
You must be looking at it, because if you blinked twice, you would have missed him.
I saw him play in the pre-season games, I think, and he kicked goals when he was playing. And I thought he was going to be okay, and he never got much of a chance at Fremantle. So when he came to North, I had in the back of my mind that this bloke's, he can kick a few goals, and he's a little bloke, and he could be a bit of a problem for him.
It was an interesting one though, wasn't it? Because I mean, I think he was one of those guys who, in the early moments with the Dockers, was seen look likely to be a key player, and then he just dropped from view. And it looked like the sort of thing where the coach had decided he just wasn't going to fit into the structure, and that's why he wasn't being played. So different coach, different structure, probably gave him the opportunity.
Yeah, I think that Neesham's game plan's obviously a lot different than Dennis Pagan's at North Melbourne's, and I think he just was one of those things where he fitted into our game style a lot easier than what he fit into Fremantle's.
Just on the whole pre-season period, having won it the previous year, won the Ansett Cup the previous year, was there a different emphasis around the club in 1996 before you went in? Not maybe quite so as intense?
Yeah, it's a bit of a catch-22, because obviously you want to win to increase memberships and to also get a bit of extra money, but it's a very hard thing, and it was probably a bit more relaxed this time, and it was just one of those things where we won a couple of games, which was quite handy for us.
I think the bonus is that if you're winning, you know where you're playing the next week. You're not sort of going all over the countryside for a practice
Certainly
game.
no emotional thing to handle with being in the night grand final this year, so the pre-season had come and gone. Let's go and have a look at the highlights of the start of the year, rounds 1 to 6.
Perfect. Joel Smith marks on centre wing. He bounds away, looks below, who's got plenty of space, one out with his opponent. It bounces to Lowy. Oh,
North Melbourne began the season on a winning note, but not without a struggle. Their little men, Rock and Bell, giving the St Kilda defence the runaround.
Roberts, haven't seen too much of Roberts today. Short pass to the forward line. Scholl, we don't see many kicks to goal from him, and that is a goal. Now, 2 minutes 23 left. Peckett, short kick across the ground is dangerous. Anderson under the pump. Stevens the hand pass away. Bell for number 4. Open goal square, and he's done it. Goes long, high. Carey,
the Kangaroos rocketed to the top of the ladder as they set about thrashing Footscray with winners on every key line. Victors by 131 points. The Doggies were in for a long, tough year.
Back to Mark Stevens. Kicks the ball to space. Sadatsu gets a bad bounce. Scholl grabs it. Can he kick goal number 4? He has.
Simpson comes away, boots it down towards the full court area once more. Crocker at the second attempt. That's
a forward line sharing the workload, superior aerial skills and a dominant midfield saw the Roos almost double Hawthorn's score. The Hawks unable to control McKernan, who was simply brilliant.
On to Scholl. Scholl's kick out to the edge of the 50. Go Carey. Great mark. Yes, you've got to pay that. Hargraves tries to give off a hand pass. Then rebounds to Anderson. His high kick into the forward pocket. Carey and Langford. Langford punches. Stevens. Left foot snap. That's not bad with a wet ball. Have to wait on the goal umpire for this one.
Archer gets it to Roberts.
Despite a healthy percentage, North Melbourne came back to reality with a thud. Their first defeat at the hands of Brisbane and the emergence of a young bear by the name of Michael Voss.
Another one!
Really to kick to, so he's going to have to bomb away in towards centre half back. Oh!
Back on home territory at the G, Corey and Carey were to become the two dominant big men in the game. Against the Crows, last week it was Voss. This week McKernan took to the skies.
Kick looks pretty good. That's fantastic stuff for the Blues. Left half forward for North Melbourne. Needs to move it quickly. McKernan has the set.
Midfield player to Colbert to Hocking under pressure.
The Cats gave North a hell of a fright on Friday night. With Ablett and Stoneham in the stands, their firepower stemmed. Carey's conversion in the last quarter igniting a narrow 11-point win.
Too far out for him. 65 to 70 metres. He's really launched into that one. Marking contest in the goal square.
Well, not a perfect record, but almost. 5 wins, 1 loss, second position on the ladder, so things are looking pretty good for North Melbourne at this point of the year. The early season optimism would have borne fruit and still be there.
Well, I mean, the one loss was to Brisbane in Brisbane, which I think is probably just about the hardest assignment away from home for any side, isn't it? So it was just about as well as you could possibly hope to start the season.
Yeah, I think so. I think that we had a really good start. I think that Corey McKernan's dominance in those first 6 rounds was exceptional. You know, he was probably the outstanding player in the league, and I think a lot of clubs really found it hard to match him up in those first 6 weeks.
Without knowing what the other stats are, that 115 goal tally that they had after that first 6 round, the other seasons in review that we've had, it's 80 and sort of 90 has been around about the reasonable sort of mark that most other clubs have been achieving, but that was a really heavily scored start of the season that you blokes had. Obviously no problems putting goals on the board.
Yeah, it's a bit of a worry, I suppose. I was full forward and was out of the team.
They would have kicked more, John, had you been.
But that is a very telling stat because, I mean, we're supposed to be moving into a more defensive era. I think defence seems to be a bit of a cornerstone of the power size now, and you guys have really, I mean, your main weaponry is your attack, really, isn't it?
I think up until this year, 12 of the last 15 grand finals were won by the sides with a 1 or 2 defence, and this year I think that we had probably the 7th rated defence, I think, was it? And so it was a little bit different this year, but still an important part of the game, but we are a pretty high scoring side.
Probably does help without denigrating yourself, John, who's a very good quality full footer, particularly against Collingwood. I used to think of the older. But Wayne Carey and sort of Corey McKernan dropping into the forward line is a very powerful part of the ground for you guys.
Yeah, I think it is. I think with me missing this year probably even helped us to a certain degree. We're a little bit less predictable, and when we had Craig Scholl in at full forward and Darren Crocker and Corey's dominance in the forward line, I think that we're pretty unpredictable.
And we've got a little bit of ISO that is pretty much an exclusive to Sports AFL and Optus Vision. Corey McKernan.
He was just untouchable in the early rounds of the season, McKernan, wasn't he? He was the best player in the competition by a mile. I mean, did he have a particularly big pre-season, or...?
I didn't notice him having any bigger pre-season than he has, you know, in the past few years. But gee, once he got on the field, his confidence just grew, and you know he couldn't do anything wrong. He was marking everything, and if his knockouts from the centre, he was almost getting them himself as well.
Well, he was. I think he was second or third.
He did. Did you guys within? I mean, because you're both unfortunately spectators at this point of the season. He really changed the way the ruck role was played, wasn't he? The way he would ruck and then go into the forward line.
Yes, he did. And to have a player that can go with him into the forward line is pretty difficult if you're an opposition coach. And that was the biggest asset for us, I think, was the way he used to take the centre bounce knockouts and then to run forward, and to have a ruckman go with him usually was a bit too slow, and it was pretty hard to match up.
You're blessed, aren't you? I mean, to have Carey, who is regarded as the game's great match winner, in your side, and then you have a guy like McKernan really come of age in 2 seasons to the point that in this first 6-week period that we're talking about, he was just dominating. He, as Rowan and Lee have said, just dominating the game. You're blessed to have 2 guys like that in your team, because I think at this point in time, Carey wasn't the absolute decisive factor that we've sort of come to know him to be.
Yeah, you're right. It's fantastic to have the both of them there, and they very rarely get in each other's way too, which is I don't know how they manage to do that, because we sort of, the ball's sort of coming in the same area, a lot of the time, and they very rarely fly against each other.
Is there is there any sort of special patterns designed to ensure that doesn't happen?
No, I think Wayne does play very close to the forward line, especially this year. I think that he played really close to the goal square and was more of a sort of a full forward than a centre half forward. And his 75 goals for the year proved that, and that allowed Corey to perhaps float along the half forward line.
Well, so that's where they did miss you, because at the start of the year they were going to play Wayne Carey at centre half back, but when you went down, they had to play him at full forward. So. Yeah. They obviously did miss you terribly in that regard.
Thanks very much.
And after 3 rounds, North Melbourne had not lost a game. They just defeated Hawthorn out at VFL Park. Let's hear what Dennis Pagan had to say after the game.
It looked a little bit like, without being disrespectful to Hawthorn, looked a little bit like a practice match in the end. There was so much sort of shuffling going on that it looked like you were taking an opportunity to use the lead to have a look around.
I don't know about that, Malcolm. I think we've been on the end of too many Hawthorn defeats, and you look in the record today, and between 85 and 93, it was 14 in the trot. I think we've won our last 6, and we want to try and equal that ledger at least, and we certainly didn't think like that.
Brisbane next week. That'll be your first really big test, do you think?
It's a big test and a challenge provided each week, and we can't wait to get home and have a look at the TV tonight and see what happens there. They've a very good side, Brisbane, and I know they're going to provide an enormous challenge for the North Melbourne Football Club, and we're really looking forward to it.
So far, so good. 3 games, 3 wins, and then the trip to Brisbane. Not so good that day. A loss resulted.
Yeah, it was. It was our first trip away for the year, and Brisbane are a very good side, and I think they had, you know, up until round 14 they hadn't played a game in Melbourne for the year, so they had a lot of early games up in Brisbane, and they certainly gave us a bit of a hiding up there.
Just on the press conference, guys, I just wondered if you could estimate how many times Dennis Pagan had said North Melbourne Football Club this year, because we've counted a few hundred.
Along with the word G, I think.
He starts with G. I'm just so proud of the North Melbourne Football, and there was $1 for every time he'd said that in the press conference.
Sorry, Dennis, if you're watching.
We're all a very rich man.
And of course, the previous visit to the Gabba for the pre-season, John, was when you came down awkwardly on your knee, and of course didn't play again. So that visit back to the Gabba, you were up there for that game?
Yes, I was up there for that game. That brought back a few unhappy memories, and I suppose that's just the way it goes.
And then, of course, Adelaide in round 5 and a very big win.
This was another McKernan special from memory. But I think Adelaide put up a bit of resistance, I think, for at least 2.5 quarters. But then I think he really pulled away from him.
And I think it was Glenn Archer in this period in the 3rd quarter who really set the tone. I think he might have gone back, having started up forward that day, and just did some outstanding work off that.
You can just see the strength that he uses running through that half-back line. I mean, he's just an outstanding, strong player, and he's very hard to handle.
Even at that stage of the year, was he setting himself for what eventually would turn out to be his best ever season? Because we'll talk about him later, obviously, but I think he probably went in with people thinking he's a good player but not quite a great player. But even early days he was, taking games by the scruff of the neck when they were really needed to be won. I think that was a classic example, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think Glenn was probably working towards having a big one this year. As you said, he was sort of thought of as a good player, but not a dominating player in the league, and I think he might have set himself early in the year to make this one a big one.
Yeah. Round 6 was against Geelong, and some vintage Wayne Carey.
Geez, you had some fantastic duels against these guys too, haven't you? I mean, there's invariably 1 or 2 players step up and have great nights. I think this was a night when Carey started at centre-half-back, didn't he? He lined up at centre-half-back early.
I don't think anyone was on him either for the first 10 or 15 minutes of the game. I remember looking out from the coach's box and seeing that Wayne was virtually floating along the half-back line by himself, and he got about 10 possessions in the first quarter.
You would have seen this as a pretty important win, wouldn't you? Because they are a side who's basically, until this year, pretty much had the wood on you, haven't they? I mean, however close the games have been in the preliminary finals, they've still won them.
Yeah, well, I think both sides match up well against one another, and I think they've got their fair share of talls too, which can cover our tall forwards, and for that reason alone, we usually have pretty close games, and it was very important to get this one out of the way and have a win psychologically.
Yeah. Have they been a bogey side for you, do you think, if there has been? I mean, probably up until this year, Carlton had sort of had the wood on you a little bit, but had Geelong been pretty much in the same category coming into 96?
They had been for the last, 3 years, I reckon. But before that, I mean, we had a pretty good record against them, especially down at Cardinia Park.
They've always been great games, haven't they? They've always been usually high scoring and usually just very entertaining games.
And one of the setbacks in round 6 was the report to Glenn Archer in this particular Geelong game. We might have a look at that.
He seems to enjoy this, doesn't he? This is a part of his game that he revels in, and there's probably fewer and fewer guys in league footy who seem to thrive on a bit of this sort of stuff, but he involves himself in it a lot, doesn't he?
Yeah, he likes mixing it and that sort of stuff, but I mean, the good thing about Glenn, not only can he do that sort of stuff, he's also the hardest at the ball, and I mean, he's just a really physical player.
Yeah.
And of course, so I was going to say, we're going to have a look at that McKernan report again in
the report of one of the reports of 96, wasn't it?
I think the thinking in this, and we've said this a number of times during the year, but I think if you're going to find a guy guilty for that, he has to go for more than 1 week. And I think the fact that they only rubbed him out for 1 week said to me that they were having a bit of a bob each way, that they thought the charge was serious enough to warrant outing him, but they weren't really convinced it was that serious. And I thought he was a bit stiff, actually.
Yeah, well, I remember Dennis asking me at the time, do you think he'll go? And I said straight away no, because I didn't think that it was serious enough at that time. But I mean, history points out that he got the week.
Did you watch it from the press box that night? From the coach's box that night? Yeah. So I remember being in the press box that particular night watching the game, and at the time we did think, gee, it does look bad. But then when you saw it on replay, the contact didn't look nearly as great as it appeared from a long way away. So maybe the umpires were going on their initial gut instincts, and they were giving their evidence have him rubbed out.
Well, Brett, you've been suspended for a hand trip before, haven't you? I mean, it's such a tripping and kicking. I mean, I think almost you've got to ask whether it needs to be cleared up in the rules, because there's such a degree of seriousness with different sorts of offences, and a hand trip as opposed to something like a knee in the back of the head. I mean, there's a big difference, and you just wonder sometimes whether they treat them all with the same brush.
Well, that's right, and I think they do have to review the rules of what they're going to do with them, because after they suspended me, the very next night, was the last game we played of '95, I think it was, or '94. They threw it out. Straight after in the off-season, they threw the rule out.
They made the two tripping offences, didn't they? The trip by leg was reportable, and the trip by hand was more a free kick. Or the other way round.
You would have missed a grand final had. I mean, that could have been a huge story,
possibly,
couldn't it? And not a happy one.
Of course, at that point of the year, suffered a couple of injury setbacks. Wayne Schwass against St Kilda very early in the season. Well, we almost saw it. I'm not sure whether we saw it or not.
Contact, but first minute of the game, first minute of the season, you know.
Yes, it was pretty unfortunate. Swatter had a huge pre-season, was our best and fairest winner from the last 2 seasons, and to lose a player like him in the first minute of the season, it was, Dennis was pretty upset, as you could imagine, and I remember seeing Wayne after the game, and the break was a really severe one. It was like he was in a car accident, and to come back like he did was a real credit to him.
Well, did it just occur in the normal sort of shepherding motion? It was just the contact on the arm? Is that actually sort of how it happened?
I think he just didn't see the St Kilda player coming, and just wasn't expecting it, and didn't have a chance to brace himself, and that was just snap off it went. So
you never know what's going to happen from week to week. And Brett, if you'd like to look away, we're going to have a look at your knee injury, so you might not even want to look at this. It must be a shocking moment, isn't it, for any footballer when all of a sudden you're in the wrong place at the wrong time?
I mean, what happened there? It's impossible.
It actually happened a bit before that. A player was coming in to shepherd me, and I was going okay, and I was a bit fired up at that stage, and I thought I'm going to put my knee up to protect myself here, and I came off second best.
What did you think at the time? I mean, you know you'd sort of done it seriously.
I turned around to start running, and that's when you've caught me, and I've started to take a few steps and thought, what's going on here? I couldn't get any power or drive out of my leg, and I just thought this couldn't have happened to me. I'm going all right.
So at the time of the actual first contact, you felt no significant pain or anything?
They got a free kick for holding the ball against my opponent, who was standing on the mark, and I thought, I'm free here, I'm on my way. And couldn't move, couldn't run.
And that next day or two after a knee injury is terrible, isn't it? Because you're about to find out whether it might be an 8 or 10 week injury or a reconstruction, John, which you've unfortunately had to go through a couple of times.
Yeah, I think that when you go and see the surgeon and they look at you and they say they don't know, you can nearly tell straight away just by the expression on their face, and that 24 hours or 48 hours is pretty hard.
And that's the summary of the what we would call the setbacks in the early part of the year, the reports and the injuries. Only one match from that group, but for Corey McKernan's individual Brownlow medal chances, it was significant.
Well, this all seems like a long time ago now, doesn't it? But looking at it in retrospect, you could have been forgiven for thinking, well, it's happening to North again. Yes. I mean, you lost Anthony Stevens on the eve of the '95 finals, and that was very costly. I know we were asking questions about North's depth, and you turn around and lost yourself, John, and then Chris Groom, Schwassy, in the first minute. And really, I guess those figures we've looked at there, it makes this season even a bigger credit to North Melbourne, because the depth really was tested and it really came through, didn't it?
And John, you're basically ready to resume pre-season training, so you're almost okay. Chris Groom, what's his current situation?
Yes, Chris did his knee originally the week after I did mine at the start of the season, and we did the same rehab and everything, and he came back the same time as what I did on the training track and was doing training fine, and just twisted at training a couple of weeks before the end of the season and did it again. So he's just sort of getting back into it again after his second knee reconstruction in 6 months. So it's pretty tough for him, but he's going okay.
It is hard. So North travelling pretty well at this stage of the year. We'll go to a short break and we'll come back with more. Welcome back to North Melbourne's season in review, and I think we can see from that vision that Wayne Carey, big and powerful as he is, slow it down a bit. There's a lot of grace there. So let's go and have a look now at rounds 7 to 12 and have a look at those highlights.
At a 50-degree angle, up and under, it will struggle.
Sunday at Subiaco wasn't to be a pleasant one for North. Their normally potent midfield overran with Eagles, who continually delivered the ball with precision up forward. Back to basics as they slipped to fourth.
Starting to bend back, and there's a mark on the line to Crocker.
Darren Crocker proved a valuable forward in the absence of Longmire. The Roos' homework was given an A as the Tigers' prime movers of the season were nullified. McKernan dominant yet again.
Chance for Laidley. He's on 50. So Roberts is at the back of the pack. Harrison has been taken away by Scott, and he's kicked the goal. Away to Bell.
Bell goes in Carey's direction. McCarthy with him. Good mark, Carey.
13 individual goal kickers as the Kangaroos peppered the goal squarers. Fitzroy had no answers to a no-nonsense attacking style that yielded embarrassing riches. 105-point winners.
Kernan up high, gets his right hand to it. Just went past Scott. Simpson kicked 3 goals already. Gets it back to Freeborn. Snap shot. Oh, magnificent kick. That's a magnificent kick by Freeborn.
Didn't fall over. Good effort. Still.
By round 10, North were touted as premiership contenders. Footscray had other ideas, as they had enough of the footy but fell down on basic skills. The Roos home by 20 points for the battle of Grant and Carey. The highlight, the latter, shaded on the day.
Land on centre wing. Member side, terrific leap and mark on his chest. Simpson's kick in towards full forward. At the back, Danny Southern. Denelchenko. Stand up, and Denelchenko does and kicks a goal.
Paddles the ball along.
The Swans flew into Optus Oval and inspired by 300 gamer Paul Roos, the Shinboners were out-muscled and their long kicking game badly exposed. Locke bagged 10 and their 79-point defeat saw North slip to second.
Gets it back again, tries to give it to
North's 2-goal lead at the first quarter was to prove the match winner, as that was all the margin was at the final siren. Archer and Carey held out a determined Essendon thrust late in the game.
where it came. Stevens from 55 heads for home. Couple of there. Archer was a flyer. Roberts was there, but Archer with his strength has the ball.
So there we go, round 7 to 12, 4 wins, 2 losses. Those 2 losses happen to be very big ones to the Eagles and to the Swans, but a 9-3 ratio to that point of the year and still second position on the ladder. So again, at the halfway point, or a bit over, things are travelling pretty well still.
Yeah, we're going along pretty well at that stage. I remember especially the game against Fitzroy that we played there, that Dennis put us under enormous pressure, or put the players under enormous pressure during the week at training, because he was worried about obviously letting the guard down a bit. And I remember going home after we had a really good win against Fitzroy thinking that you know, things are like travelling along pretty good.
Well, that was also, I think, about a week after the North Fitzroy merger stuff happened. You must have thought you were playing against your seconds that night or something, didn't you?
Oh, well, I think it's a credit to the blokes how they kept their mind on the job. I mean, to have that sort of talk going around the place and to not know what's going to happen next year, but the board really kept us informed, and it was a real credit to the way the club, the way they handled it.
And there's the round 7 vision from the Eagles game in Perth, which wasn't a good one for you guys. The Eagles won quite well.
Any sort of doubts creep in after a thumping loss like that?
Oh, no, I don't think so. I think that it's just a week of reassessment. I think that the day after a loss, I mean, it starts straight after the game and they'll play on the way back, that they start talking about the following week and what we can do in improvement. And it's just sometimes it's a bit of a kick in the pants, and it just wakes you up a little bit, I think.
Is football life over there still vastly different to playing anywhere else in the country?
In Perth?
Yeah.
I would think so. I mean, it's the weather's totally different, and the conditions.
And the 4-hour travel and going to a different time zone, that really is significant, isn't it?
Oh, it is. And yeah, the West Coast set themselves for North games, I reckon, every year.
And the supporters still give you plenty.
Exactly. And the sort of reverse happens when they come to play us in Melbourne, I suppose.
And it was about that point you played Richmond next game, and the merger issue was fairly public. What effect was that having on the group?
No, I think that once it was, all the rumours were squashed, and when we came out, or when the club came out and admitted the merger talks were happening and were very open about it, I think that's when the questions weren't being asked all the time to the players. Everywhere they walked, they were sort of constantly getting harassed. And I mean, once the club came out and admitted it, I think they were fine, and I think they handled it very well.
Well, we're not so sure whether Dennis Pagan was so happy about the press coverage of it, and after the round 8 game against Richmond, he had these words to say.
How different was this week in terms of preparation compared to a normal week, given the off-field stuff?
Well, from my own point of view, our training was first class, and when you play a player like you did last week, you would expect nothing less. There were a lot of distractions, a lot of innuendo, a lot of lies, a lot of inaccuracies said about the North Melbourne Football Club and stories that were in the press. We were pretty disappointed about that, but to our players' credit, they just focused on the task at hand, played like real professionals, and went out and did the job when it had to be done.
What was a particular thing I've heard you a couple of times on radio and television say lies and innuendo about the North Melbourne Football Club?
I don't want to get... Well, you
mean that the deal wasn't done? Is that the thing that really...
No. Look, the thing that was just the inaccuracies and being so close to it, knowing what was going on, and you know, people going off half-cocked without ever following their sources through. And there wasn't any individual's name. There was nothing concrete. It was just innuendo. And from my point of view, and knowing what the actual truth was, and knowing exactly what happened at the club, and Greg Miller keeping every key individual at our club informed as to what went on, and to hear some of the rubbish and the inaccuracies, it was just most disappointing, and it didn't do anything to enhance or help our the North Melbourne Football Club today.
Did you think all the coverage was that wide of the mark, or just some?
No, well, I reckon probably you probably got 40%, 35% right, and the rest was down the Googler.
Well, Dennis wasn't that happy with the press, and North Melbourne had won. Rowan, you were in the front row of that press conference. What did you think?
We weren't that happy with Dennis, to be quite honestly. I mean, the thing about the North Fitzroy merger story was, and the Sunday Age broke the story, but you know, once it came out, I think initially North denied it. I know Mark Dawson denied it, talked about scurrilous press at a lunch at which I was an unfortunate guest. And we copped all this stuff, and then 2 days later they turned around and admitted the whole thing had happened. So that was a week after the story broke, and I don't know what Dennis was going on about, you know, lies and innuendo, because as was proven to be the case, I think just about everything we wrote with the story was right. So I don't know how the players felt about the media coverage, but my conscience is pretty clear with it.
I think the first thing that we found out about it was the Sunday after the Eagles game, before we played, and someone mentioned it that it was in the papers back home, and I think that's the first time that we heard about it. So, I mean, it's things you can do without, and obviously Dennis would rather sort of put it on the back burner, and I think the whole club would, but I mean, the rumours and that got to the stage where we had to really come out and admit to it.
I should say also that, you know, once the club did come out and confirm it was happening, that they were really upfront, and I thought that was, maybe they learned a bit from what happened the first week.
What was the week where the merger fell over, and therefore you guys knew you were continuing on?
That was before Carlton. Before the Carlton.
Yeah, that's right.
We've still got a while to go yet. I was just trying to cast my memory back to that stage of the year.
We had a few mergers, didn't we?
We certainly did. Well, Fitzroy and Footscray were overcome, and then, of course, North Melbourne played Sydney at Optus Oval, and a bad loss resulted. And after this game, again, we go back to, for very different reasons, I suppose, this day, not a very happy Dennis Pagan.
Well, this was another bad loss, wasn't it? I mean, I'm not sure whether you guys were a bit surprised by Sydney, but they did give you a bit of a caning, a game that you were probably widely expected to win.
Yeah, perhaps we didn't respect them as much as what we should have. I think that we all knew that they had great players, but we didn't really, I think that Rodney Eade coached very well that day. They had about 10 players rotating through the midfield, and I think that probably caught us a bit off guard.
Do you believe that he probably had an advantage, having, you know, worked so profoundly with you blokes prior to that?
Oh, possibly. Yeah, he knew knew a lot about our team and the way we played and things, and yeah, he had a few strategies worked out for that day, and they seemed to come off on the day.
I watched that game, and there were so many changes being made from both coaches' boxes. I wondered whether each player knew his direct opponent at all points of the game. Would you suspect that to be the case or not?
Yeah, I think that Rodney wanted that to happen. Obviously, I think that that was the whole objective of his move was to perhaps get us a little bit confused, and we knew that playing them later in the season that it might happen again.
I think it's fair to say that probably this was the only moment of the season when people started having, you know, real doubts about North Melbourne, and a lot was made of the size of the losses against Sydney and West Coast. Did you? I mean, was there a reason for that? I mean, once the games had been conceded, did you tend to fall away mentally? What happened?
It was a bit of a concern, I suppose, that the losses we had suffered were big, and Dennis did bring that up and made that point known to the players, and that was something that we had to work on, and I think we did it pretty successfully.
And certainly being beaten's bad enough, but when you're beaten by the team coached by the previous year's assistant coach, as in Rodney Eade was with Sydney, I don't think that Dennis Pagan was all that happy after this game.
No, we were all really ashamed of our performance here today. We can't offer any excuse at all. There weren't many areas I can say that we were any good at all in today.
At this level, is there such a thing as just one of those days?
Well, I would hope not, Mark. I think your intent should always be there. And okay, maybe things aren't going your way, and maybe you don't play super footy. But you know, if 2 or 3 of our guys, Glenn Archer, Anthony Rock, Wayne Carey can play with that spirit and passion for 4 quarters, and even though things aren't going well for them, why can't everybody else? Well, we've sort of had a chat to Corey about it, and you know, it's happened very quickly for a guy 21 years of age, just come along and you know, all before him and play really good football and take the AFL footy by a storm. And people are making comparisons, and when he's played, I suppose he's played 40 games now, making comparisons and that sort of stuff, and he's really got to earn his stripes a bit more and say, well, you know, as we said, he's got to, in these sort of scenarios here, you've got to be able to come back. If things don't go right for you, really got to be able to come back and make a contribution.
And here we have the reports and injuries from round 7 to 12. The abusive language, Ian Fairley cleared, Glenn Archer cleared.
What do they do, get the words wrong or something? It's an interesting scenario. I wonder what he said.
I think he threw the mouth guard over in Perth.
Oh, right.
I think that was what he said after he threw the mouth guard. I think they got him in a bit of strife.
Interesting what Dennis was saying about Corey McKernan just in that press conference before we saw that graphic. Was there the early focus on McKernan bringing to him an undue pressure, do you think?
Oh, well, I suppose it's a hard thing, isn't it? I mean, as Dennis said, he was a young player that all of a sudden was at the forefront of expectations, and I mean, opposition clubs were really studying him going into games, and he just, you know, now and then you have a bad game, and that was a bit of an ordinary game for him.
And did the media tend to make more of just a one-off bad game than probably needed to be after that particular game, do you think?
Probably after the start of the season that he had, and then, you know, everyone was giving him some raps and
sort of waiting for that bubble
how
to
much
burst
he's
a bit,
improved,
weren't they?
and I suppose they were waiting for a bad one. And
I think as a rule you're not allowed to talk up Carey and McKernan at the same time. You've got to sort of take it in turns.
Well, certainly we do in terms of the marking statistics of the game, and as we can see with North Melbourne, I think the main thing with the Carey and McKernan is probably a lot of their marks are being taken in contests, and maybe Glenn Archer the same. The Rock Stevens ones, obviously being smaller players, are mainly, you know, the chip type marks out wide.
Yeah, I think that because we don't play a real short chip style of game, we don't take a lot of marks, and the marks that we do take, especially by the key forwards, are, as you said, in a pack situation, and that's just the way we like to play the footy.
And the ability to get the ball in there quickly, and to almost, in some ways, ignore the loose player to get the ball quickly into the forward 50 really sets it up, at least for those players, to have a jump at the ball.
Well, that's right. I mean, the quicker you get it down there, the better chance they are of maybe being on a one-on-one situation and maybe catching some defenders unawares.
But certainly a very good side in the air, North Melbourne. Let's have a look at some of the best marks of this period of the year.
Go again, Lately from a standing start, bombs it up towards King. The big leap and the big grab.
McKernan has the set.
Violent. McKernan, oh, what a grab.
And on centre wing, member side, terrific leap and mark.
And then with a cape out the another great mark by Archer.
Down to the half-forward line, Carey.
Supreme. The ball very high. McKernan had his name on it. Pushing and shoving in the goals. Carey! And goes out towards half.
Swash! Work it through David towards. congested, work forward, knocked on by Roberts. From the road there, Brisbane doing very well. Charles coming over the top, and they're working through David Ward. What a
Darren Crocker, one of that group of North Melbourne players who tended to play the cameo forward roles probably around the centre-half forward play of Wayne Carey. So up to the end of round 12, rounds 13 to 18, the season is really getting serious now. Let's go and have a look at those highlights.
Towards the 50, an opportunity for Delaney. It's off the side of the boot. It's
From defence to the forward line, the versatility of Archer to the fore with 2 goals. An accurate kicking of 9 goals 20 to 8 goals 10 almost cost the Roos dearly against the Dockers at the Wacker.
Head ripped off. He's recovered. He puts them inside 50. Who's going to be first? Archer again. This could be another one. And it is for North Melbourne.
To bring it back in. It's not a bad kick either.
First and second drawn to play at the MCG. Almost 70,000 fans saw North Melbourne show the reigning premiers they lacked leg speed. Blakey's suppression of Tuatafiti a winning factor.
In towards centre half forward. Marking contest. Oh, the crumb gatherer was Glenn Archer. He goes for goal. And North Melbourne have got another one on the scoreboard. Bell breaks the tackle. Left foot snapped by Bell. Roberts. Oh, goal, no. Brilliant smother by Silvani off Carey. It's still going to go over. Carey to the goal front. Roberts. Who's kicked it? Roberts has got a goal. He's kicked it 6 inches.
Earlier in the season, they were 4th.
Maybe North peaked against Carlton, and Collingwood caught them on the rebound. The Magpies' defence standing firm. Tony Shaw's matchup saw many of North's prime movers nullified, and a shot lost by 61 points.
Hand pass at half forward. Well, Burns caught Wild. Can he make amends? He gets it back to Russell. They're under plenty of pressure. McDonald to Williams. Then he's quick. Then he's accurate. He kicks and goals.
Watch runners towards the goal square. Kicks it back at the...
Miserable conditions brought only 24,000 to the G Friday night, and St Kilda wished they'd stayed at home. 17 goals to 4, and McKernan's marking made a mockery of the wet condition.
You would think the Saints, if they'd have any chance, but...
Ball caught in underneath. Balls to Carey. The skipper goes from 40 metres out, and they've got another one. His 5th. Swings round. Goes in the centre wing, just on the corner of the square. Big fly. The champ, Carey.
The Kangaroos were back on top of the ladder. Their 113-point thumping of Melbourne also saw Wayne Carey display one of the best individual performances of the season. 22 kicks, 9 handballs, 15 marks and 11 goals too, with both behinds hitting the post.
Way through, but intercepted by that man Carey, and he's done it again. And past to Blakey. Archer will have to go and does. Did he infringe?
Hawthorn led the first half until the Roos turned up the heat in another Friday night encounter. Matty Armstrong off the bench and into the fray as one of the Roos' best.
Into Armstrong on his left. Pushes in. Carey can't complete it. Langford's wherever he goes. Back to Scott. Bounces in the square. It's home.
And after round 18, first position on the ladder. The last 6 games, 5 wins, 1 loss. Really, there was no period of the year where there was a real hiccup. There might have been odd losses, but certainly no consecutive ones.
Very consistent, isn't it? I mean, you know, we look at Carlton last year with the 16 in a row. We look for the Premier team to have had some really, you know, authoritative spell during the year, but 3 wins and a loss.
The Wayne Schwass incident here, and of course you don't even see it on the fast motion, do you? But
well,
that's hairs in his mouth, of course.
Under enormous stress trying to get Clement off him at that stage, or so his defence counsel said, and
he had the specialist evidence.
Yeah,
in fact, that was a rare first, because he'd be one of the few blokes for whom they presented special evidence, and the guy actually gets off.
Gets off, exactly. But that was that was probably one of the truly extraordinary tribunal cases of the year, I would have thought. I mean, when we saw that at the time, we sort of slowed down. We saw photos, I think, on the Saturday Age the morning after. I think they had a highlighted picture on the back page. I think most of us thought that he was going to be in a bit of strife, but.
And of course he's back in the side. This Carlton win was really significant, I thought, because I mean you hadn't beaten them for 2 or 3 years. I mean, to get over them, I thought it might have been one of the final hurdles.
It was probably the biggest build-up of experience to a game, I think. I think that after the Fremantle game, we were coming back in the plane and all the talk was about Carlton, and I think that build-up during the week Brett, don't you think, was really important to the way we played?
Yeah, there's no doubt that the focus was turned straight to Carlton after the Fremantle game and what they'd done to us for a few years now, and you know, we really had to come out and show our stripes.
The other big factor too, obviously, the merger announcement was on, I think, Thursday, July the 4th, and North Melbourne, as we all know now, sort of left at the altar. So I think Dennis said after the grand final that was one week when he really did use the merger stuff to fire the blokes up, and it certainly reflected in your performance. What was it, a real obvious motivator that was?
Oh, I think it was. I think that you don't deliberately go about it, but it's good, I think, to have an us against them sort of psyche, and to use that can be a real positive. And I think that week we really used everything to our best advantage, and a great victory came out of it.
It's sort of interesting too, isn't it? Because a lot was made of the fact that was in the shadows of the merger falling over. But was that more important in terms of motivating players than beating Carlton, the side that you'd actually had some trouble with and had beaten you so conclusively in the final series the year before?
No, I think the main thing was to beat Carlton. We just had to beat Carlton, and you know, the players weren't thinking about we're safe and whatever stuff like that. I mean, we just had to beat Carlton that week, and as it turned out, we got over the line.
And John, you were starting to get on the move again on the track, and there was talk that maybe you'd play again in this year?
Yes, I guess it was around this time that I really had thoughts of trying to come back. I'm not moving too flash around there, actually. I thought I was doing a bit better than that. But,
actually looked all right to me.
But no, it was this time of the year where I was really getting confident and thinking that I'm a real chance to get back, and everything was going pretty well for me on the training track.
Has there been much of a rethink about coming back after Rico, after what happened with David Schwartz? I mean, we've seen a few guys go down a second, third time, like yourself. I mean, at this stage, was the thinking still the same? Or?
I think that David's case was a little bit different. He was, I think, a little bit hereditary. Had something to do with that. I mean, my redo was 2.5 years after my original one, so it was quite a period of time. But I think you've just got to be a little bit careful these days.
And you mentioned earlier that Chris Groom had done his knee a second time round. Was that before your attempt to come back?
That's what probably ended my attempt to come back.
I wonder whether that might have had some impact on you.
And certainly I don't think there was much doubt that Dennis Pagan would have liked John Longmire back in the team if that was possible.
One encouraging sign, and are you tempted to perhaps bring John Longmire back a little earlier, because he's doing everything right on the track?
If it was left to me, he'd be straight back in this week, but unfortunately it's going to be up to the specialists and our medicos, and John's going to have a significant say in when and if he does play again this year.
Well, it was not meant to be, John, and eventually decided that it was just a bit optimistic to continue to try and play this year.
Yeah, it was no doubt it was the hardest decision I've had to make in my life, and when they all left it up to me, I got all the advice from all the specialists that I could, and weighed it all up and spoke to everyone, and really it came down to me. And that Tuesday afternoon it was that I walked into Dennis's office and told him that I wasn't going to play was probably the toughest thing that I've ever done. And I look back on that now, and I've got no regrets about not coming back. I don't think I was right physically to attempt to come back, but it was just disappointing the way it ended out.
You're not supposed to think this far ahead, of course, but you must have at that stage, when you told them you weren't going to go on with it, had fleeting thoughts about not being one of the 21 running around with a premiership cup in your hand.
It wasn't actually fleeting thoughts. It was the biggest thing that was on my mind at that stage. It's all I could think about day and night was that last day in September and not being a part of it. And I suppose probably knew that we'd, or not knew, but hoped that we'd make the grand final, and that was the only thing that I was thinking about all day, every day, and to make that decision that night was pretty hard.
We mentioned earlier that round 17 game against Melbourne, when those who were there saw Wayne Carey played one of the better individual games probably of all time.
Well, I've got to say, I've got Optus, so I was fortunate enough to see this live on TV because it was when the Olympics were on, but this is the greatest game I've ever seen anyone play. He kicked 11 from centre-half forward. I think he had 30-odd possessions, and I think 15 or 16 marks. And he just, I mean, it was like, I mean, you guys, played all right too, but he was just unbelievable. He could have beaten them on his own that night. Have you ever seen a better individual game than that, either of you?
I think he had an absolute night out that night, Wayne. There's no doubt about that. He was just, everything he touched turned to gold, and he was unstoppable. Melbourne just didn't have anyone that they could put on him to quell him at all.
And he was really entering his peak form for the season at this stage of the year, wasn't he? He'd still been a bit indifferent, maybe up until about this point, but he was...
Yeah, he hadn't really been outstanding as in other years, but I think that everyone expects him, if he doesn't kick 6 or 7 goals a game, they think he's had an ordinary game, even though he's had 12 marks.
Yeah,
and I think the expectations are that much higher on him. And it took a game like this where he kicked 11 goals before the public sort of woke up to him.
There was a bit of a feeling that he was playing a slightly different role this year. I mean, did you share that he was playing a bit further up the ground, perhaps?
I thought people were thinking he was playing closer to goal.
Oh, OK, well, he full does then.
And here we see the reports and injuries to that part of the year. No reports that resulted in suspensions, no injuries. I think they might be major injuries. I'm sure there was a player or two that might have missed a game here or there. But
you wouldn't mind a run like that every season.
Yeah, certainly things were travelling very well. I mean, really, it had been a year where you're up near the top of the ladder all year. Form had been pretty good. Had a hiccup early with a few players being injured, you two being 2 of them. But things were looking pretty positive.
Yeah, I think so. I think that once we got to this stage of the year, going into the end of the season, things were looking pretty good, and getting Wayne Swass back was a bit of a bonus. He was a bonus player for us, and have a bloke like him to come in was just terrific. But yeah, I mean, I think that suspensions have got a big part in it. Injuries have obviously got a big part in it, and both sides there were pretty lucky. And I mean, that all has a say in it at the end of the day.
Going pretty well, and certainly kicking plenty of goals. Let's have a look at those who made up the North Melbourne's leading goal kickers, and again, Carey and McKernan top of the goals as they were with the marks. Craig Scholl, he was actually excellent, Craig Scholl, as that extra forward, extra versatile forward who could play.
He really relished the chance to play up there.
What odds would you have had on him kicking that many goals at the start of the year?
I wouldn't have even thought he'd have been playing up there.
And would you have ended that top 5 by the end of the year, given your finals campaign? You would have kicked more than 22 for the season in total, wouldn't you?
I think I got in there in the end.
OK, let's go and have a look at the highlight of our game, the goals of the year from the North Melbourne players.
McKernan using his body well. Playing, now Carey from 50. Long bomb. Kick looks pretty good. That's fantastic stuff for the Blues. Runs around on his left. Oh, very, very clever goal by Carey.
Marking contest in the goal square.
Oh!
Has he kicked it? He has. Oh. He's missed the mine. No, he's kicked it. Couldn't trap it. Scholl. Quick kick. There's a great snap. He's kicked a miracle goal.
Simpson around his body towards Roberts. Oh, he recovered nicely.
Oh, well done.
I think it's a goal. Yes, he can.
Roberts. Oh, goal, no. Brilliant smother by Silvani off Carey. It's still going to go over. Carey to the goal front. Roberts. Who's kicked it? Roberts has got a goal. He's kicked it 6 inches.
He's going to try the check side, and that is a goal. Great kick.
Footy. Hopgood burst his way through, but intercepted by that man, Carey. And he's done it again. Archer will have to go and does. Did he infringe? No. He gets rid of Platten and runs to 30 and goes bang.
60 metres out, sends it down towards full forward. McKernan is down there. He leads back in the race. Now that's something special. If that's a goal, it is. How about that?
It's a great out wide. Too far, is it for King? No, he's able to gather. He'll kick the screw punt kick, and he'll kick a goal!
Is that holding? No. And still there with Rock. Rock bends it back. Oh, don't tell me it's another one. It is. Look at it.
Eustace puts it towards centre, but stolen by Roberts. Mark Roberts likes a goal from 49 metres. North Melbourne look home here at the MCG.
Bit of vision there from that titanic struggle against Adelaide at Football Park, that wet Saturday night, but North triumphed again. Let's go back, the run in. We're getting towards the end of the season now, rounds 19 to 22.
Couldn't hang going on. This is Clark. Back inside the 50 it comes once more. Down towards McIver.
The Bears' bogey continued at windy Optus Oval as the tall North forwards battle to adjust to the conditions. Little separated every change, but Brisbane's ferocity fantastic. Revenge for the Roos would have to wait.
Could have been held. Sits over the ball. Now gets it out. Taken away by Jason Ackermanis. Here's an opportunity for Brisbane if they are going to get a goal. The mark has been taken. And earlier today, didn't you? You must have gone down to the backyard and got some of that weed.
What looked easy on paper turned out to be a lucky escape by 6 points in Adelaide as the lead changed 13 times throughout the match. A gem from Peter Bell, just one that saved the Roos from embarrassment.
Bell close to the line. What can you do, Peter Bell? Yes, you can.
It's a great kick right there. Ablett, what a mark!
Geelong had Ablett and Stoneham back for the rematch, and they led at every change despite a late surge from North. These two continued their titanic struggles. Easy conversions missed up forward cost North dearly.
At the back, forced forward by Robert Scott. Brewer onto it with Burns. They just got him on another's road. Stevens to Scott. He rode a tackle, gets it to the pocket. Peter Bell's had a quiet night. Good kick back though by Bell. I think he's got it. He has.
Roberts tries to bend it back miraculously. Carey close to the...
A 2-point lead at the final change saw Carey inspire a 9-goal blitz that was to end Richmond's season. The two Waynes, Carey and Schwartz, control the air.
Corey McKernan, back to Bell. He's running out of room. He gets a short little chip in towards full board. There's the answer from Stevens. Looking towards the wing. Schwartz! In control. Passes towards Scholl. Does it beautifully. Here they go again. There's another one, is it? Hey, home now, Brett Allison. Flicked back by Allison. Knocked on by Scholl. Brilliant football. Stevens, in a marvellous last turn, kicks another goal.
Well, round 22 now completed. That final 4 games, 2 wins, 2 losses. Not the probably, if you were to isolate parts of the year, probably the worst part for North at that period of time. But finished second on the ladder due to Brisbane dropping that last game against Collingwood Victoria Park. Might have been the only day you guys were barracking for Collingwood that particular occasion. But this one is the Optus Oval game, round 19 versus Brisbane. We see a little bit of Corey McKernan here.
It was a Sunday game, this, and I think we were really difficult wind blowing that day too, and very tight, sort of scrappy game, and I think McKernan was pretty effectively held from memory by Matthew Clark.
Yeah, I think that that day was always going to be a bit harder for the bigger blokes, and being such a windy day, Corey found it a little bit hard.
It had become the factor, hadn't it? There seemed to be a developing trend throughout the season that if you kept McKernan and Carey goalless or down to very few and kept the footy away from him, that North could be exposed. And North and Brisbane with Matthew Clark seemed to have the perfect tool to worry McKernan.
Yeah, I sort of last year it was no Carey, no North, and this year it was a bit of no Carey, no McKernan, no North. But you know, then what's it going to be? No Carey, no McKernan, no Archer, no Rock, no Stevens, no Allison. I mean, it gets to a stage where you've got to draw the line somewhere, and I think we've got some pretty handy players other than those two.
Yeah.
And the other hiccup at that point of the year was the round 21 loss to Geelong. Well, I've got a feeling it might have set up your qualifying final win later on. Yeah. And it even started badly because that Geelong mascot looks a little bit more aggressive, doesn't it?
Well, the players obviously decided to follow their lead, yeah.
Whose mascots are these?
I think this really proved the, you know, a big motivating factor for a couple of weeks later when we played them in the finals. And I mean, it wasn't such a bad loss looking back on it in retrospect.
You're just always that couple of goals behind, just couldn't quite pick them up. Yeah. But not far away, but just couldn't quite get them.
Yeah, we weren't flogged by any means, and as John said, it probably did us a little bit of good.
Was it one of those nights where you felt like you were the better side on the day, but you just didn't get the 4 points? Because to a lot of people who watched the game, it looked that way.
Yeah, I remember I played this night, and I remember thinking the whole time that we were going to get there. It was just a matter of time. We were going to get our nose in front, and it just didn't happen. So, yeah, it was just one of those nights, I suppose.
Well, we've mentioned a couple of times Peter Bell, who again was just on and off the bench as that other small forward, along with yourself, Brett, and a couple of others, Rocky and blokes like that. He was pretty good this last game against Richmond. They looked like you were in trouble for a while.
Yeah, the Tigers were. They gave us, they come out hard against us, and they put us under a lot of pressure. But
Actually, the finals probably started a week earlier, really, because I think the Richmond had to win this to be in the finals, and we had to win it to have a chance of getting second spot. So it was a pretty big build-up to this game.
And you did it pretty well, didn't you, in the end? I mean, Bell was fantastic when Richmond was on fire early, but then the way that your side just absorbed everything that Richmond could throw and then run away to win pretty comfortably must have been a fantastic fillip for, you know, your finals campaign that was on the way.
Yeah, I think so. I think that Richmond have historically been a pretty hard at the ball side, and I think that we are pretty hard at the ball side as well. And to come away with a good win like that just before on the eve of the finals was pretty important.
I think Dennis Pagan was pretty happy with the recruiting of Peter Bell, as we heard after the Richmond game.
He's played some pretty good games this year, and you know, you look at guys with a bit of character, and I remember us going across to Perth to talk to him. The biggest thing that stood out was his character and integrity, and there were a lot of knocks on Peter, but gee, I'm just so pleased that we backed our hunch and the assessment of one very good well-known Perth identity. Well, in the 126-year history of the club, I think there's only been 1 year when the club's won more home and away, and that was in 1979 when they won 17. Even in 75 and 77, they only won 15 and 14 respectively. So, you know, it was a fine effort by our players, and to finish the home and away season in the position we are, we wanted to finish 1-2. It was one of our players' goals. We wanted to make sure that we didn't lose 2 in a row, and our players achieved that. And okay, we just add up the situation now and attack it with all the gusto, enthusiasm, determination we can next Sunday or Saturday, whenever it is.
So they're the reports and injuries in that last stanza of the year. There was a few reports, Schwash, Anderson, Carey, but they were all cleared, and no injuries of great note, although of course Stuart Anderson hurt his hamstring about that period of the year. He eventually got back playing again by grand final day.
This is a great bit of vision of it here. You see him streaming forward this particular, and you can, if you just watch him, there it goes. You see him arch the back a little bit. He knows he's done it. And
Unfortunately, had to give the handball off to me.
Is that right? Because I thought he had it clearly in mind to kick that goal, didn't he? He had no thoughts of getting rid of
look at you feigning concern.
When you tear a hamstring, I mean, everybody knows about it, but those little minor sort of strains that are the 2 or 3 week ones, they're just like a little cramp, aren't they? And it's the most shocking feeling a footballer gets.
Certainly, especially in the finals too. It makes it that much worse.
Just a point on Peter Bell. I mean, a Korean-born player. I think Wayne Schwass, New Zealand-born player. You're sending your recruiting blokes out to Iceland or Africa, or I mean,
we're a very multicultural club down in North Melbourne. We pride ourselves on that.
Don't ask Pauline Hanson along there.
Talk about a multicultural society. Australian rules football proves it these days. It does too, doesn't it? There was a lot of what we would term as European ethnic names, but they're all there. And this is that Adelaide game I mentioned before. It just rained virtually all night, if I can recall. And
this is the night that Carey and McCartney had their ongoing stoush. And Carey, sorry, go on.
How many night games have we seen Adelaide, just out of interest, with this sort of conditions prevailing? They seem to specialise in the evening midwinter gale, but it was a real slog, and it actually ended up being a really good win for you guys, didn't it?
Oh, it certainly was. I mean, it was a real slog over there, and I don't think we'd won it. We hadn't won it at Footy Park up until that game, so it was really important to get that monkey off our backs as well.
Well, what about the report of Carey though in that game? Was it something that you were particularly concerned about? And I think there were a couple of incidents leading into that, I think in rounds 20 and 21, and there's some vision we might see soon, where he'd just been pushing the boundaries a little bit this night against Geelong, where it's a seemingly meaningless little thing and he just gives Tanner that little jab. Now, we're being a bit pedantic by picking on that, I suppose, but when you're a week or two away from the final series and something like that happens, the media's always going to jump on it.
There's mitigating circumstances here. Ben Graham's given him one in the guts first. He hit the wrong way.
A double protest.
But you're right, Andrew. One would have had to say the umpire on the after-match review of the tape would have really thought seriously. Very minor, but should I take action on that? And he decided not to, Rowan Sawyer.
Oh, it's a very good decision.
And then this one, a week later again. Now, it appears, well, it is accidental. There's probably no doubt about that. But it just is one of these things where he crashes onto Callaway's head, and we see it from this angle here, I think. No, we're not going to see it.
So how much difference is there between that incident and the McKernan one, which cost him a Brownlow
medal?
I'd say very little.
Is that other angle you're talking about?
And incidentally, by that, I'm not saying that Carey should have gone. I'd say neither of them should have gone. But
absolutely, couldn't agree with you more.
I think that Wayne really had nowhere else to go then. I mean, you've got to fall to the ground sometime.
And wasn't Damien Monkhurst, just to change the subject, or not change the subject, but bring in a defence, Damien Monkhurst actually got off by bringing in another specialist mid-season by saying that tall blokes have poor motor skills or something with their feet, and they do tend to get caught up a little bit. Yeah. But the point about Carey that I think
we already knew that about big blokes.
I was going to say it'll be handy evidence for the club when it comes time to give him the fleek. They'll just draw on his own special evidence.
But the point I think we're trying to make about Carey was that just in that 3-week stretch, he was exerting himself, you know, as much as the great player that we know him to be, but also having that physical presence as the stakes were lifting. He was lifting accordingly.
Yeah, I think Wayne likes to not let anyone get any advantage over him, and you know, if he cops a little whack here or there, he'll try and, I suppose he'll try and even up here and there, but he's just got to be careful. I mean, you can get into trouble from it.
A consciousness amongst the playing group in the AFL football as a whole, that really the game is very heavily regulated. There's cameras everywhere. You know, you do something wrong, there's a fair chance you're going to be out.
Yeah, that's right. I don't think you see so many, you know, blatant incidents anymore as there certainly used to be, and that's the reason why you just can't get away with it.
Yes, and of course the milestones. Every year there's players reach milestones, and they were North Melbourne's main ones for this year. Ian Fairley, 200 game in round 7. Mark Roberts, 150th in round 9, and Wayne Schwash, 150th in round 11.
Well, Fairley was a great story, wasn't he? I mean, he's really one of those blokes who I think 5 years ago people were asking whether he was finished, and here he is still going strong.
Something that's come into the game. If you play a milestone, your kids run out with you. There Ian's 2 kids, I presume.
That's right, yeah. I think that Flossie's a bloke who there was a real club identity, has been around for a long time, and you know, he's a real popular bloke down at the football club, and he just kept the same level over the last 5 or 6 years. Hasn't got any worse or hasn't got any better. Just keeps maintaining that same consistent level, and there's very rarely does he get beaten.
And how many times have there been when we wouldn't have thought that Mark Roberts would have played 150 games of league footy in his career? That's a fantastic achievement.
I would have thought Flossie's got better over the last few years. Actually.
He probably has, actually.
I wouldn't know you thought that.
But he's always been a good player.
OK, let's have a look at the stats, Rats. The first thing that players look at after a game to see how they went with the stats. Here we are, the season's high. Again, up to round 22, this would be the kick getters. Anthony Stevens, the top kick getter.
Well, you've got 2 of the best little men in league footy for the year there on top, haven't you? I mean, one guy who was obviously perilously close to All-Australian selection, and another guy who had his best season for a long time. So
we see David King there. He had a much improved year out of the back. Poor old Ross Smith got relegated to the reserves, but David King, as that small defender, became a very good player.
He was real valuable for us this year, King. Really attacking off the back line, and he, you know, he's just improved in leaps and bounds.
And handball there, that's one of all the teams, probably you guys handball the least. Tend to kick the ball much more than handball.
That's interesting. Sorry, John. It's interesting seeing Carey up there, you know, right near the top, isn't it? And you tend to forget that with his marking. He actually has great hand skills too, doesn't he?
I tell you what, if you know that Wayne's got the ball, you certainly try and turn up to him, because he will get the ball out, and that's probably a low handball result's probably a fact that we're pretty proud of down at North Melbourne.
Yeah, it's amazing. You look through the team stats, and having a lot of handballs is not necessarily conducive to winning games. And out of the centre there, and I think we often remark about McKernan's ability not only to jump for the ruck contest, but to actually grab the second effort at ground level and get it forward.
It is staggering. It's probably one of the most staggering statistics that came out of 1996 was his capacity to follow up his ruck duel and then win clean possession out of the middle.
I guess the question that begs too is that if he's playing that role as well as getting the tap out, does that enable another guy who might otherwise be in the square to do another job, or I mean, does that change the way Dennis has set up the centre square structure, or?
Well, we have a pretty reliable structure week in, week out that we like to stick to, and it obviously depends on whether Corey's in the middle or a Mark Roberts type follow on whether we can win the head out. But I mean that, you know, if Corey's just that big and strong, once he hits the ground, it takes a lot to stop him, and I mean that's the biggest asset with Corey, I think.
The tackling stats, certainly within club, are very highly regarded, aren't they? The ability to pressure the opposition with the ball.
Yes, we regard them so highly. We have a special award at the end of every year for them, and Steve has won it the last 3 or 4 seasons in a row. I think he's going to be greedy.
Is he Tony Liberatore's heir apparent, do you think, as the king of tackle? Or?
He does pride himself a lot, and I know that him and Glenn Archer certainly check the stats straight after a game to find out how many tackles each of them had.
Don't check the kicks, marks and handballs.
What about free kicks against? Just very quickly, do they check those as well or not?
Yeah, we have this year.
We've put a lot more emphasis on that this year.
I remember listening to Dennis Pagan at the start of the year mentioning to Anthony Stevens that was one thing that they really wanted him to curb was, did he meet Dennis Pagan's demands in that area this year or not?
Yeah, I think an improvement was made all over, and Dennis was happy with that.
Well, we've talked about the tackling and the bumping. Let's go and have a look at the main examples of that. We'll go to a break and then we'll come back and look at the finals.
Sending on him.
Still a loose ball, a chance for North. Picked up by Stevenson, ran into Archer. Smart it is. Good recovery, great tackle by North Melbourne, and Dean holding the ball.
Driven into the ground by Laidley. Barker able to gather, can't get past McKernan.
In front of Scott, North Melbourne fans perhaps not happy there. They fought the player on. Okay, Ramiro's gone, holding the ball.
Outstretched arms, plays on quickly. The long sleeves is caught. Takes it up, feeds it wide to Tate. Took too long. They've got a problem.
Great tackle. They're going to Anderson. Caught. That's holding the ball.
Luck at all today. Luff takes too long. Scott gets hold of him.
His opponent. It bounces to Lowy. Hold it! Set him up here. Bang. Oh, that's a heavy.
Find it. Oh, Matt Burry was there, but he couldn't take it. Oh!
McPherson.
He's got to pull out perhaps his best game for the season. Michael Martin in towards centre half forward. Plenty of Tigers up. Loose ball behind Anderson. Open goal. 20 metres out. Jensen. Down towards full. Balls at the back on the effective squad.
Virtually North Melbourne's first final at round 22 game against Richmond. They won it. They're in second spot. Only the finals to come. Let's go and have a look how it happened.
Former North Melbourne player gives it back to McGrath. A shocking kick by McGrath. Straight to Crocker. Not good play. So Darren Crocker drives it long. Ellison back with the fly to the ball. Sanderson. Ellison at the back of goal.
What a change in 3 weeks, as North Melbourne never gave Geelong a chance, not only reversing their last encounter, but thrashing the Cats by 10 goals in the qualifying final. Corey McKernan stamped his pass while Allison ran up a 7-goal tally. At the other end, the great one managed just 1 goal.
First goal of the game. He's got North Melbourne's first of the second quarter. Back it comes to Barnes. Tried to be a little bit too fancy. Carey receives from McKernan. Brett Allison, another one. Yes. Allison, can he be first to recover again and get 7? Freeborn gives it over. Schwarz is going to kick this goal. In he goes, bang! Well, they've got good players everywhere, North Melbourne, as Freeborn brings it in towards full forward. A loose ball again, and a handball back towards the line. Allison, yes! Goal number 7!
60 to 65,000 people. It's been a beautiful week early in Melbourne, and then
they came in their droves knowing they'd been this far before. Twice the Bears had the better this year, but a place in the grand final up for grabs, and North Melbourne never gave the Bears a sniff.
Inside, McKernan works his way in front, slaps it down, all North Melbourne. Allison, Carey, great evasion, goes with the left from 35. Goal.
Centre half for Lynch. Martin winning everything at the moment. Pushes forward. Lambert wanting a free kick. Blakey off the ground. Hasn't had many touches, but boys, he stopped them. Rock to Stevens. Out rides at Capuano. Capuano kicking in the direction of Scholl. In the pocket. Crocker tries to get it back. Does to Scholl, and he kicks another one. Again.
Wide of the mark. Blakey brilliantly done. King doesn't mind a goal. Runs goalward. Kicks. I think he's got it.
Martin should have got a free kick. Gee, he was courageous. Laidley. Scott, good handball. Needs the bounce now, Capuano. Can't quite get the handle on it. Freeborn helps. North should get away. Well played. Terrific handball to Roberts. Roberts through the centre.
As a bounce. Always dodgy in the centre square area from 75 metres out. Long kick. Carey watches it bounce. Quick for a goal.
What a fantastic opening to this Centenary Grand Final. The scene has been set, a flood of colour and emotion here at the Melbourne Cricket Ground.
It was that one day of the year. It was the day that the North played the South, and the Swans' first half full of merit. Although the hard MCG surface was taking its toll on the Sydney Siders' legs by half-time.
It's happening for Sydney at the moment. Mooney, a good contest with Fairley. Lewis with a chance. Well played. Lockett in the box soon as he can't work to the front. Martin with him. Played Lockett. Played Tony. Left foot goal.
after the long break, the reality that this was their day came to fruition. Archer won the Norm Smith medal, and Corey finally received one that they couldn't take away.
Anderson goes over the top. Anthony Rock. He's 55 out. He's done a 360. Back to Anderson, off to Scholl. Can go over the top. He does to Stevens. Stevens can just about seal it for North Melbourne. Towards centre, but stolen by Roberts. Mark Roberts likes a goal from 49 metres. North Melbourne look home here at the MCG.
But Carey worries him out of it. The captain kicks it beautifully to right. Rocket 50, takes his man on, 48 metres out, kicks for goal and drills it home.
North Melbourne chart has gone up. They know they're home. Simpson, it's high. It's good. It's a great goal to Simpson.
Well, we saw what happened at the end of September. Let's see how the month unfolded. The first game, of course, the qualifying final against Geelong. And Brett, we have to say you did, I think, join the club of there's not many of us who've kicked 7 goals in a final. That was a fantastic effort, wasn't it, personally, but the team as well.
The team was, I mean, the thing was to win the game, and yeah, we got away to a pretty good start, and I was just happy to be able to get on the end of a few goals.
When was yours, just out of interest?
Well,
76 qualifying?
Yeah, I think I kicked 7 once, I think.
I think I was there, actually.
Brett, you went into this game with a slight injury doubt, didn't you? Wasn't there some queries about your knee going into this game?
Yeah, I hurt me right knee, not the one that I'd done earlier in the year.
How serious was it? Did we make too much out of it?
It's just something that I've had for a few years now, and just sort of, if I go the wrong way, it seems to
gets a lot better running towards goal.
It does. Yeah, it doesn't seem to worry you.
I wanted to know whether you actually had an opponent this day.
Yeah, I did.
Who was it?
The umpires were on your side.
Had a few. Mansfield started on me, and he was going okay, but they needed a lift, and they had to take him off me and send him up the other end of the ground. Then they put, I think, the one I thought was strange was Brewer. Was put on me, and I don't know if he's playing the back line.
In that game, we mentioned that Geelong beat you guys in, I think, round 19, wasn't it, or round 21. It seemed like that your setup that day was, I suppose, different and learnt from that 21 loss.
Yeah, I think we got a good look at the way that Geelong structured themselves for that loss that we did play them in, and therefore we did have a good chance to sit down that week and work out something a little bit different, which we tried that game and it came to fruition.
You guys were very good that day, but did you sense, after all the titanic battles you've had with them in recent years, that they were pretty ordinary that particular day?
Yeah, I think they come off a bad one against Carlton the week before, and a bit of turmoil down the club, and a few rumours floating around, and yeah, I think it might have had a bit of an effect on them.
Was that used by you blokes before? Did Dennis use much of that? Or
no, he didn't use that for us at all, but you know, it's just the way it worked out, and they seemed to. I don't know, they just weren't switched on the day, I didn't think.
Does that stuff ever get used, Lee, or does it ever get used? We hear, I think we in the media like to think that it gets used quite a bit, but I just wonder whether it does actually get used that much.
Yeah, I listen to what the guys have to say. I would suspect a small percentage of what people think it would be used, all that so-called outside motivation. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, only a very small percentage. I think that if you're not motivated to play league footy as it is on a personal pride basis, well, you really don't need that much more to get you fired up, and maybe sometimes it might be used as a bit of a spur and something a little bit different, and occasionally it does work.
And importantly, the win earned you guys a week's break up until preliminary final. Let's have a look at what Dennis Pagan thought about that after that game.
Well, everyone's expectation is to be successful on the last Saturday. We just had a pretty good win, Mark. We've set our aims and goals, and it's something I really don't want to talk about in the public arena.
Did you simply want it more today?
Well, as I said before, we just won more of the football this time. You know, our loose ball gets were up a hell of a lot higher than what they were last time. Our hard ball gets were up. Last time we just didn't win the football enough, and even though the conditions weren't poorer, I'd like to think that the contested marks in packs that we would have won that pretty easily also.
You've been at North for long now, Dennis, in various capacities. You've never been in better shape to win it this year, since you and your time there.
I've been there for a while. This is our fourth tilt, and I suppose some words that Kevin Sheedy said to me in 1992, and when he first said them, I thought, gee, what's Kevin talking about? And I tell you what, his statement went along the lines of, it's so much harder to win a game of football in the AFL than it was in the VFL, and finals are even harder, and yeah, certainly ringing in my ears now. And look, we're in a good position now. We're glad we got the week's break, and we can sit back and lick our wounds positions and assess things and hopefully get them right for the following weekend.
We're looking pretty good, North. Qualified for the preliminary final, have the week's break. I think even more in modern football than ever, having that week off at some stage in the finals is a great advantage.
Yeah, I think it was a huge advantage. I mean, just to give the blokes a chance to freshen up mentally and just to have the weekend off and just to relax a little bit and also injury-wise as well.
It's funny though, I mean, one of the key reasons for the introduction of the final 8 and the 2 preliminary finals was giving sides same amount of rest time and whatever, but we've had a couple of blowouts in grand finals since the final 8 systems come in, so I'm not sure it redresses that imbalance, but I mean, did you notice, say, on preliminary final day, the effects of having that week off? I mean, could you feel that you still had a bit left in the tank at the end of it? I think the feeling was you won pulling up a bit that day.
Yeah, well, I think we were still fairly fresh. You know, it didn't do us any harm at all in the fitness station. I mean, if you're not going to be fit by that time of year, you're never going to be fit. So it's just a big bonus to get blokes who are sore or had a few niggly injuries, you know, to really get the physio and work on them for that week and come up and as close to 100% as possible.
One wonders about, about the mental part of it too, just having that week's break from building up for a contest.
Yeah, it's got to help mentally, I reckon, you know, just freshen up a little bit and not have the pressure on for that, you know, for that sort of week of playing a game. You know, it's got to do you all the good, I reckon.
I just imagine having a week off, you know, a week off for any of us at work is always a nice thing to, you know, help us get through the next week. I would think that after such a long campaign as a footballer, it would be exactly the same leading into a grand final.
Yeah, that's right. It really starts from the training track. I think that if you haven't got the game to play for the following week, it can work for you both ways. Sometimes it can be a bad thing or sometimes it can be a good thing, but I think that Dennis used it very well and used it as a chance just to freshen up on the training track, which was pretty important.
And Brisbane was North Melbourne's preliminary final opponent. Let's have a look at a little bit of that vision as we talk about it.
Well, this game was over pretty much by about quarter time, I think, wasn't it, or shortly after. I mean, how often in finals have we seen, you know, how decisive an opening burst by one particular team is? I mean, they just never look likely to lose.
We talk about Carey's quick hands. That was just a fantastic example, wasn't it? An absolute get and give hand pass to Mark Roberts.
It's a very, very short ball, I
If
think.
you turn up, I mean, it's coming down. I run at him every time I can.
Did you guys feel that almost not inexperienced, but Brisbane really looked a bit sort of shell-shocked to me at the start of this game, just, you know, watching it on the telly?
Yeah, I think that a lot had been made out in the press before this game that obviously that we'd failed in the last 2 preliminary finals and there was a lot of pressure on us and perhaps it was a bit overrated, but I mean, we really did come out 100 miles an hour in this game and really attacked it. We had a lot to play for.
Do you think the players are aware that statistically every home state advantage that team won in the finals, that it seems in the finals playing in your home state against a visitor is even more pronounced than ever?
Yeah, I think it is. I think that you've got to be a little bit careful with stats. I think that you can work them the way you like to see them, but I think that was a pretty important one over the final series.
Yeah, certainly helped my confidence.
Knowing that you had to play a side
Brisbane at the MCG, it certainly gave me. I thought that we were never any chance of losing, or never had that thought into my head that we were going to lose at all.
Have you been that confident about winning games of football that often?
Not against against interstate sides. I am. I mean, I just think it's a lot harder to play away from your home.
And a big crowd at the MCG as you played against the Bears on preliminary final day was different from that game at Optus in the middle of the year, where a smaller crowd, you know, in virtually a suburban ground. It all makes a difference, doesn't it?
Oh, it certainly does, especially perhaps to a few of the younger Brisbane players that haven't had that big game experience. I mean, it does make a difference.
And Craig Scholl, it was a bit of queuing up for goals here, but Craig Scholl, his work pretty much this year was a permanent forward. He was just another forward, wasn't he?
That's right. He was at one stage a Victorian halfback flanker, and now he's come in as a permanent role in the forward line and done a terrific job for us.
The thing about those 3 or 4 support goal kickers you've used all year is they all seem to bob up in like a 5 or 10 minute burst and kick 2 or 3, and it seems to have been the case all year. Scholl did it. We've seen Simpson do it, Freeborn do it in the grand final, even Danilchenko and blokes like that. I mean, is there an art to this, the burst player, or is it just the way they are?
I think it's just the way it happens on the day and myself. I don't think there's any art to it.
Yeah. And certainly when you play in the North Melbourne forward line, you could be in any part of the forward line, couldn't you? Dennis doesn't particularly play your centre forward, full forward. I mean, you could be anywhere. John, even yourself, you'd be up half forward flank at times.
Yeah, I mean, he does like to use you all over the place, and I think that perhaps you know, just with the matchups with the opposition defenders, perhaps they're a bit slower if you come out to the half-forward line and just things like that that work in our favour.
I mean, Brett, you've often played full forward to designate the position, haven't you?
Yeah, as John said, it's just who they've matched up on you at the time, and whether Dennis thinks there's an advantage there of maybe a quicker bloke leading out from full forward.
Dennis has often spoken of putting opposition defenders in the part of defence they don't want to be.
Exactly.
You guys have to sort of be flexible, don't you?
And one of the good things about it is that the North midfield seems to look for everybody. If there's an open man, they kick it to them, irrespective of who it is. We see sometimes always go to their designated forward when there might be other blokes open, but North is one of those sides that, irrespective of who it is, they give them the ball.
But undoubtedly the big scare of the day, the match was virtually won, but Corey McKernan went down at this centre bounce. No one was quite sure what had happened. Was it a concussion injury or was it a strained ligament?
Well, we know not to believe North on injuries anymore after this one, because we were sold the ruse all week that it was a fairly minor thing, and it turned out that he actually tore a cartilage. So, I mean, it's a remarkable effort, really, to come up to the grand final and play the game he did.
Did you guys know that? Did you know exactly what his injury was?
No, it was kept very quiet. It really is a credit when you look back on it to have a torn cartilage one week and be coming out and playing in a grand final and to play a really big part in it the following week, and it just shows you how much determination he's got.
So what were you guys thinking at that stage? Just seeing the pain on his face there, you weren't thinking, here we go again?
I was just hoping it was a clash of knees and he'd be right, no worries at all. But as I said, I didn't find out till after the grand final that he actually. I spoke to him on the trip, the footy trip, and he actually told me that it was a torn cartilage.
Yeah. So what's he done since the season in terms of? I mean, is it serious enough to require surgery as it turned out?
Yeah, I think he's had an arthroscope done and had it all fixed up now, so he's just in recovery.
Certainly in the rooms after the game, I suspect Corey McKernan wasn't quite sure what the injury was, but he was certainly being pretty optimistic.
Yeah, fine. I just pinched a bit of cartilage and hit a nerve at the same time, but if I'd needed to come back on the second half, I could have. We just strapped it a different way where I wasn't in any pain, and I was running around the boundary line with Matthew Armstrong, I was saying I could go back on if I needed to, but because we had that buffer zone, I was fine to just stay off the ground, so it's just going to give me a good preparation on it this week and I won't have any worries.
What did you think when it happened? Did you think the worst?
I suppose because I'd hit it right on a nerve as well, I was in a bit of pain, but once we got off the ground, it settled down a little bit. I was a lot better, and once we knew what it was, I suppose my fears were alleviated a little bit, so it was good.
How are you feeling now that you've got over the preliminary final hoodoo and you're sort of in there now?
Oh yeah, it's a relief to get through, but I suppose we've got an even bigger task at hand now. We're in the grand final, so we're a chance. We're in it now, so hopefully we have a good preparation and not sort of get caught up in it. As long as we stay pretty much level-headed, I think we'll go pretty well.
So to grand final week, North had finally got over a preliminary final, losses in 94 and 95, so it was to the grand final of 96. John, difficult week for you, being an injured player and seeing the rest of the team playing for the grand final. What was your thinking?
Yeah, it was pretty hard. I know that I deliberately didn't want to go out on the track on the Monday and Tuesday nights. The big crowd that was out there, and I was just finding it a bit hard. But I think I made the decision probably 10 minutes into training on the Thursday night to go out in the track, and I thought I might as well get right involved in it and get stuck right into it instead of sitting in the rooms and having a bit of a sulk about it. So I got out, and it was probably the best thing I've done. Tried to get involved with the players, and it felt terrific.
It was great to see you out there on that Thursday night, and I think it was something you deserved to, obviously something you deserved to share in, you know.
Oh, yeah, I mean, all the blokes are obviously really good mates of mine, and I mean, I was really happy for them, and I mean, I just felt that I tried to support them as much as I could, and I thought that part of that was being out in the ground on that Thursday night, which was pretty tough to do at the start, but I enjoyed it in the end.
And Brett, grand final week for you, the side was pretty much locked in, so you didn't have to worry about that.
Yeah, no,
how was the nerves and how the tension?
Nerves were great. The week was just sensational. It was fantastic training. The crowd at training to what we normally train in front of was it was just three and fourfold, and it was just a sensational week. And I remember thinking, this is what I've been dreaming of all my life. And there was a young kid, Dion Miles, a supplementary kid who was training with us for that week, and I remember thinking how great would it be for a 16, 17-year-old kid to be training with North this week.
And by contrast too, I mean, you were aware of this, but Sydney had probably the worst preparation anyone could have for a grand final with the Dunkley farce, if you like to call it. I mean, they just got consumed by that all week. I'm sure Dennis was thinking during grand final week that, this was just perfect for you blokes.
Yes, except it wasn't a dream start, was it? The Swans kicked clear, and it really was in the second quarter, and probably Glenn Freeburn those 3 goals in the second quarter that picked up that early deficit was just critical to the end result, I would think.
I think those 2 goals that he kicked probably in the first 15 minutes of that second quarter to keep us in touch were really important. Then he kicked one just before half-time to make us virtually level at half-time, which is great.
You've almost got to dub him the Teddy Hopkins of the 96 grand final, don't you? I mean, I hope his career lasts a bit longer, but it seems to be a lower profile guy who'll bob up in the grand final and play a very important role. I mean, it was just a critical period, this wasn't it? And you went from being probably within 1 goal, 1 Sydney goal more of being really in danger of losing to almost being, you know, very confident and in front at half-time.
Yeah, I think that an underrated move, I think, at that stage was when Dennis moved Corey McKinnon. Instead of taking the centre bounce work and going to the forward line, he took the centre bounces and went to the back line, and I think that he also played a big part in that second-term revival.
I was wondering, I suppose, Rodney Eade, it's probably a swan situation, but that retrospective view of whether Stafford should have gone with McKernan at that stage of the game, he did, and it seemed to sort of fit into North Melbourne's plans.
It probably suited us a lot. I suppose in the benefit of hindsight, you'd always make a different decision, but I think that Rocket decided that at that particular stage, and it just worked out good for us.
And Brett, you got clear. You were sort of 3 or 4 goals clear early in the last quarter. It looked like you were going to win, but it never quite dropped them off until that last probably 5-10 minutes of the game.
Yeah, well, I mean, a grand final, Sydney's going to they're going to fight it out right to the end. You know, we thought we were fairly comfortably in front, and
it was that final moment, the last goal kicker. Probably you would never have picked that one in a raffle, would you?
Yeah, fairly, yeah.
It would have been pretty popular amongst the boys, though. I mean, a lot of you must have loved to see him kicking that goal.
It was pretty popular in the box. I know that everyone went up and when he took that mark. I didn't actually know it was Fossey until he actually went back on the mark.
Dennis was telling me he was chastising someone for yelling out there's 58 seconds left or something.
Yes, it was mentioned actually. It was just amazing because I think that the suggestion was brought up in the box that he'd go down and join the players on the boundary line and soak up the last 50 seconds of the game. It was 58 seconds of the game, and he said, "Don't be silly. We've still got to win this." And I think we're about 6 or 7 goals up at that stage.
I think it might have been overdoing the caution just a tad at that moment.
That's probably the right way to do it.
That's probably one of the as great an understatement as Alan Joyce after the 1991 grand final when he said just happy to get the 4 points.
And of course up the other end of the ground when Ian Fairley was kicking that goal, Mick Martin, people don't realise how much defenders ride on the result of the forwards having shots for goal. And the game was well decided. Mick's pretty happy. Look at Tony Lockett. It's the it's the up and down of winning and losing, isn't it?
Well, Mick and Fossey are both Western Suburbs boys and are pretty close mates.
Didn't realise he had such a nice smile. You don't get to see it all that often during the course of a season, do you?
It's more of a squint.
There it is again, look at him. It's one of those, unless you're looking at him at the time, you obviously wouldn't have seen it.
Are his teeth his own? Can I ask that?
When was the moment on the field, Brett, that you accepted that you would win? Can you remember a particular moment?
I think it was after Adam Simpson's big right foot snap out of that pack.
That's brave. There's about 30 seconds left.
Yeah, well, I mean, I remember Darren Crocker came running over to me then, and we sort of looked at each other, and he said, "I reckon we've got it." I said, "Yeah, I think we've got it too." But sort of, yeah, until then it was just, you know, I started, maybe after that goal, I started having a bit of a look around the crowd and soaking it in, I suppose.
Yeah, certainly. There's nothing like those final few moments when the siren goes and you know you've got it won. Let's relive it a little with John and Brett. And of course, along with North Melbourne's premiership win, Wayne Carey became another premiership captain. Let's see what he had to say immediately after the game.
The way I feel right now is, look, nothing at all compares to that there in the world. And you know, as far as I'm concerned, it's my life. Footy's my life, and you know, nothing compares to that medallion for sure.
How does it feel being a premiership captain?
I don't really sort of think of it like that. I think of it as being a premiership player with the rest of the guys. The captain doesn't really come into it. Yeah. I'm just wrapped to have played and got one of these. I think probably about the 26, 27 minute mark, I was getting a couple of winks from a few of the boys, and I think we knew we had it about then. And you know, it was, yeah.
What did the victory lap feel like?
Oh, look, that's incredible. I mean, just to run around and see the people that go every week, week in, week out, and just support you and cheer for you. And, you know, they go through the highs and lows, and, you know, it's just fantastic for them. I mean, the club hasn't had a premiership for a long, long time, 18 years, and only 2 in its history. So I'm just rapt to give them their third.
Well, plenty of joy and plenty of glory all round, and I suppose for now it's almost last year for you guys. I mean, you can enjoy it, but pre-season's about to start. The 1997 season's almost on the doorstep.
Yeah, it's for sure. It's only a few weeks away now. We'll be back into a bit of running, and it all starts again.
Now, I spoke to Dennis about 3 days after the game. It was about the day of that draft swap meeting, and I thought to myself, he's into 1997 already. Don't know about the players, but I knew the coach was.
I think that on the Monday he was. I mean, virtually straight after the game, he was virtually started to talk about a little bit about next year. He's just that's the way he is. He's a very professionally prepared coach.
The players surely have to have some time to be able to reflect on what they've achieved. Otherwise, you know, what's the point in achieving it in the first place?
Exactly right. I think that you enjoyed it all that week. That was a pretty.
I think we've had enough time to
reflect on that.
Yeah. We're talking 1 week or 1 month. What are we talking here?
Not 6 months like Collingwood 91, like.
Starting to tone down a fair bit now, which is good. And,
Can you honestly say that you're as focused though now on, at this point, on the 1997 season as you were at the same time last year when you're looking forward to the 96 season?
I could say myself that I am.
Seriously?
Yeah, I could, but you know, I'm not sure about. I can't speak for the other boys, but you know, I know what's going on. You know, I think it's the 14th of November. The ball starts again, and you know, it's another long season.
Do the coaching staff tend to get perhaps overcautious about this? I mean, Collingwood 91 obviously had a pretty bad start to the year.
But that was a unique. I mean, the aftermath of that Collingwood premiership, not having won in 32 years, all that stuff. I mean, it was kind of a unique, sort of different year, and that was kind of celebrated ad nauseum, really. I mean, the facts are a team will win the premiership every year, and they've got the task to come up the following year. But it seems to me that North were a very good team, both in 94, 95, you know, right on the edge of the grand finals, and maybe a little bit better this year than 94, 95. But one would think the premiership's come and gone without a great deal of fuss.
Which is, I think, a good way of having it. It's certainly the way that Dennis would have liked it, and it's probably the way that I like it too. It's just to make sure that you know, we can have another crack at it next year.
Absolutely. I think something special about winning a best and fairest in a premiership year, and it was Wayne Carey that triumphed in the North Melbourne best and fairest. Anthony Stevens second, Corey McKernan third.
What's amazing about that result is that you know, certainly for the first, I think, 2 months of the season, we were asking not what's wrong with Carey, but he's not quite at that same spectacular level. I know Dennis was getting very shirty with people for suggesting that, but I mean, that's why I think there was some speculation that Carey had changed his role. I mean, did you guys feel that he did anything differently this year to previous years at all?
I just thought he was maybe playing a bit closer to goal than he had been. Seeing that John was missing, maybe he took it a bit on his own conscience to, you know, maybe think, well, I'm going to step up and try and make up for John not being on the field. And I just thought maybe he was playing closer to goal than what he had when John's in the team. He seems to play a bit further up the ground.
Probably is the case of a player who gets judged on his own standards. It's often said, but it's true, isn't it?
That's right. I think I said it earlier about you know, if he doesn't kick his 6 goals a game and doesn't take his 15 marks, he's had a bit of an average one. But I mean, he's still a great player.
And of course McKernan and Carey, along with Glenn Archer, made All-Australian selection. And is that something players really hold store with these days, the All-Australian selection?
I reckon I'd be wrapped if I was picking it, that's for sure.
It was terrific to see Glenn Archer, you know, to finally be rewarded with something like that, which he doesn't cop much attention in the media, and to be awarded an All-Australian Guernsey was fantastic for him.
It's been a massive improvement grade that he's been on, hasn't it? I mean, he has...
No, we don't think so, Andrew. You think so. We think he's always been a good player.
I must admit, it was probably 2 years ago that I wasn't 100% sure about whether or not Archer was going to be top flight, but gee, this year he has taken a quantum leap, and he never went off the boil. I mean, he set a standard early, remembering that Adelaide game early in the season when he went back and made the difference, and he has just been absolutely sensational.
We did say after winning the Norm Smith that he knew his career wouldn't be complete until he'd satisfied you that he was a good player.
So. I'm glad that you've done that for me, Glenn, and I feel that now you can rest assured that you have had a wonderful 1996.
He doesn't look particularly quick, and his body shape's not that of a guy with great stamina. What is his sort of running ability at training, is he?
He's pretty
good. He's quick.
He's very quick.
Quicker than
very quick.
Well, he ran in the sprint for us this year, in the pre-season sprint.
Yeah.
How did he go?
I think he made the final. Stamina-wise, I think he's okay.
He's good too.
Do you reckon blokes from other sides are genuinely scared of him?
I don't know about that. I know that I don't think there's too many players out there that are scared of other players. I think that opposition coaches perhaps rate him a lot higher, or have done over the past few years, than a lot of the media people have. And I mean, opposition players certainly do rate him as a fantastic opponent.
Well, we briefly mentioned next year, and you're their #1 draft choice, John, according to the coach. And of course, he's looking for 6 hungry players. They're the two things we've heard a lot from Denis Pagan in this last month. Who are the blokes that we haven't seen much of that might just elevate themselves into senior selection?
In the reserves, probably, coming out of the reserves.
Well, reserves won the premiership, so obviously the list is very strong.
Well, I mean, you've got the blokes like the Delanchenkos who have been in and out a bit this year. I mean, he's one that we'd like to come up, I suppose. Young blokes, Brent Harvey is pretty nippy and around the packs.
We've also picked up Martin Pike, which I think he can really play, and will certainly add something to us, I reckon, forward and back.
How much better will Matthew Capuano become, do you think?
Well, it's got to do him all good too, the grand final and the medal, and I mean, he can get in the gym now and get stronger, and hopefully have a bigger season again.
Do you think Matty can sort of play a key position? Because if he can only play ruck, well, one would think that Corey's value is to be mostly in the ruck.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, this is his first season from coming back from a major knee reconstruction, and I think it's very handy if you can have a Matty Capuano on the bench that can go on and take the centre bounce work and allow Corey to go forward. I mean, that's a pretty potent combination.
Is it heading that way, perhaps, where clubs maybe are going back to the dual ruckman sort of setup?
I don't know. I think that it's always important to have a pretty good mobile ruckman like Corey is. Obviously, he's an athlete and he's an outstanding one. But, I mean, if you can free him up and let him roam around the ground, and perhaps that Matty actually has gone forward a couple of times for us and played in the forward pocket and kicked a couple of goals.
Particularly in a 21, you've got a chance of probably having them both, because he's not specifically the big 6'10" ruckman that's got no chance of playing anywhere else, has he?
No, that's right.
But do you see him as a footballer himself being in a position where Denis Pagan is going to have to be difficult to give him enough football to keep him happy the older he gets? Is it going to be one of those difficult balances to make?
I suspect, given, as I said, that Corey McKernan is such a devastating All-Australian ruckman that, you know, I know it surprised me a few times that Denis, in fact, preferred or decided to ruck Matty and not put Corey in the first ruck. It's a bit hard for you guys to comment on that, but I kind of, late in the year, I almost wondered whether there's something was being held back for the finals doing that.
Yeah, I think it's pretty hard to ruck all year the way Corey does. I mean, the way he runs around, attacks the footy and jumps, and it's just really hard on him physically, and I think it's really good to, I think Denis perhaps consciously thinks, right, I will give Corey a bit of a break this week.
Yeah. And of course we mentioned David King earlier in the program, who became a very, very good running small defender and a marking defender by the look of that one.
And one for the fans of the VFL round.
Yeah, well, I mean, it just begs the question. He was drafted back at the end of '93, and I think since then we've only had, I think, 3, probably no more than 4 guys drafted out of the VFA, or what's now the VFL. And it's interesting because he's just been an outstanding success. I love this bloke. I mean, he runs hard at it, runs in a straight line, kicks it 1,000,000 miles. I mean, he probably won you the game this night in Adelaide. Do you look at a guy like that and think, well, you know, why haven't they plucked a few more blokes from those sort of levels of football?
Yeah, I suppose you've got to. You know, there's certainly blokes. If you can get a David King out of there, there's got to be, there's got to be 1 or 2 others that are playing in that level of footy as well. That might be a
good Port boy playing in a back line with 2 Western Suburbs boys must be a pretty rugged group of defenders you got there.
Dean Hadley back there, I think it was pretty good. I think they're a pretty tough bunch.
And just as a Port boy, I don't know whether he's going to be all that happy with you declaring that you're in love with him on national television.
Not that way, David.
That'll be the end of him at Port, I can tell you.
We'll start the questions asked from him after
It's gone all yuppie, Port Melbourne, didn't you know that? But I can assure you, David, it's not that sort of love.
And for John and the North Melbourne supporters, let's have a look at John Longmire playing, or no, training. I thought we were going to have a look at some vision of when you were on the field there.
This is the Monday of the grand final week where we had that pride into your private world up there as you sat and watched them train.
Yeah, I suppose I'd probably thank Andrew Marr for that, spotting me up in the grandstand. I thought I'd just sneak up there and just watch a little bit of training by myself. I thought that, you know, if you stand down on the boundary line, you've got the press people there and that, and I just didn't want to talk to anybody.
People don't realise, do they, that players, when they're injured and you're not part of what's happening on the field, it's really, you feel like almost a leper. When it's grand final week, you just don't know what to do with yourself, I suspect.
Yeah, I can remember when we beat Carlton and Geelong this year, and I missed both games, and I felt very disappointed that I wasn't part of it. So I can't really imagine what it feels like to miss a grand final.
Is it sort of possible at all though that you are more keen about footy now than you were 6 or 7 years ago?
Oh, I'm very keen about it now. I think that, I mean, whilst it was terrible to obviously miss such a fantastic year, it gave me a chance to sit in the box and perhaps be privy to something that I would never have been a part of, and to learn a lot about football and what makes a really good player, and I hope it certainly does improve my football that way.
And you're ready to start the pre-season with the rest of the players. Are the mental scars completely behind you, do you think?
I don't know, Lee. It's something that I won't know until I get out on the track, I suppose, and start playing the games. But, I mean, last time I seemed to feel it okay. It wasn't too bad, so I hope this time.
Of course, we see some vision of your coach there. Dennis is always very positive about the North players in public. I suspect in private he might be a little more, what's the word, honest or critical?
Oh, he's very honest. I think that's his biggest asset. You know, after a game, he can tell you whether you played good or bad, you know straight away.
But never publicly does he seem to criticise his players. It's one thing that seems to stick in my mind.
Yeah, I think that's to his credit again, and it's probably I reckon that's the right way to go.
Well, that was a fantastic year for North Melbourne, was it? The ultimate premiership year, so it's only a memory now as we go into 1997. So, Brett and John, good luck for next year. Hope it's a repeat for you, Brett, and for you, John, that you can be back and North can do it again.
Thanks, Lee.
And Rowan and Andrew, thank you for assisting me getting through this couple of hours. Always enjoyable, I think, when you look back at a premiership year, don't you? It's sort of so much good feelings, good joy.
It's all very positive. We leave the carping until the other end of the ladder, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
Gives you the chance to see all the players that have played a major role in the whole thing too, I think, which is interesting.
Been fantastic. So that's North Melbourne, the ultimate year, 1996. We look forward to your company again when we look back at another club in their 1996 review.